Hi, my name is Hannah Zindlar. This is for my WRD 112 college course, and my fellow co-host is my brother.
Hi, I'm Harrison Sindelar.
He is helping me with this project. So I chose an art piece, The Night, Death, and the Devil, from 1513 by Albrecht Dürer. I definitely did not pronounce that right, but it is a Germanic piece that basically portrays the Black Death and the religious atrocities that had come from it. The reason why I chose this art piece was because at the time, I was very, very intrigued by the Black Death. I had recently taken a class about how the Black Death had influenced people and the people during that time, and the different types of stigmas that were against different people, and how people were blaming religion for this cause. So Harrison, you know how the Black Plague started, right?
Yeah, like ticks and rats and bad sewage. That's what I've learned.
Yeah. It was because of ticks and because of trading routes and everything. Mm-hmm. But also during the time of the Black Plague, there was the Crusades that were going on. And so people were already super heavily religious. I mean, this is like the 12th century. Mm-hmm. Or 14th century, one of the two. It was the 1300s. And, I mean, people are so heavily religious. People are so insanely religious during this time, and they had no idea what was causing the Black Death. I mean, they honestly thought that it was punishment. They thought it was divine punishment for, like, sins of man, for, like, murder and everything. But also during the time, there were rumors going around that it was the Jewish people poisoning the water in the wells. People need to have water to live. Mm-hmm. So because of this, a lot of the Crusades had ended up going and attacking Jewish populated villages and just massacring them. Like, they would be burned, they would be drowned, they would just be slaughtered. It was a very, very, very dark time during the Black Plague. And honestly, a lot of the people who were in the Crusades were actually dying because of the close proximity that they were in. So it was just a really, really dark time for everyone. And the Pope at the time had connected the dots and was like, hey, there are villages where there are no Jews and people are dying because of the Black Death. This is not because of them. Please stop. But people did not stop. So, you have any comments?
So you would probably say that the Black Death helped, had a contribution to a rise in anti-Semitism during that time period?
Yes, I would say it did. Especially during a time where anti-Semitism was already pretty prominent. The Jews have also always faced insane history when it comes to their European descent as well. I mean, this isn't the first time that anti-Semitism was very big, but before the Black Death, no one really cared if you were a Jew, Christian, or Muslim.
So this, whole thing is about the connection between, diseases and how a rumor about how a disease is caused can cause
hatred against,
covert racism.
Yeah.
Is there, a modern-day example?
Other than... So, we'll touch on COVID-19 in a second. But there is actually one I can also think of that started because of the United States, but had a heavy impact on the people in Europe. So, you know the Spanish flu, right? You've had the flu before.
Yeah. Not fun. Very bad. Would not recommend.
So whenever I think of the Spanish flu, I always think of Twilight and how Edward Cullen became a vampire. But this is actually what caused me to do a lot of research into why there was there any, hatred against a certain group of people during the Spanish flu. And actually there was. According to, the NIH and the WHO organization, during the Spanish flu era, before the United States had gone and joined the war, there was already a lot of anti-German hate in the United States. And this wasn't because of what Germany's role was during World War I, but it was because of the United States' hatred towards immigration and why they didn't like anyone who was an immigrant. I mean, during this time period, a bunch of Germans and the Slavs and Irish were coming into the United States. There was a huge boom in immigration because people were trying to escape the war. And the United States didn't like this because they didn't want any part in the war at all. This was up until the Zimmerman telegram, which is the telegram that the UK had prevented from getting to Mexico from Germany, asking Mexico to get involved with the war and attack the United States. Now, me personally, I feel like this was just a conspiracy that freaked the United States out and was something that the UK did to try and get the United States into the war. But that's a topic for another time. So, the first case of the Spanish flu was actually in Spain. And when I was doing my research, I was expecting people to blame the Spanish for this flu, but what people had done in the United States was say that it was Germany and the Germans who had created this biochemical weapon to take down their enemies. I mean, this was also around the time with the rise of biochemical engineering, and whenever people think of, the usage of gas and everything, this is the reason why we have, war crimes.
Yeah.
Other than World War II, I mean, the stuff that was in this war, using the gas bombs and, just basically bombing cities and all of that stuff, and using biochemical weaponry, is the reason why we don't really have that stuff. But because of the usage of biochemical weapons during World War I, the United States started a rumor and propaganda against the Germans.
To enforce the idea that the Germans are the enemy and they are attacking freedom by using this illness that they've created over there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the most modern example I can think of for the closest thing that can be involved in this is COVID-19. We both had experienced COVID two different ways. I mean, I was in middle school when COVID had hit, heading into high school, and you were in elementary school heading into middle school. Two very different experiences, but two very big life-changing moments were supposed to happen that got cut off. So, when I think of COVID, I usually think of just, being at home, the online classes, playing Among Us with my friends, and being on FaceTime with everyone. I mean, I felt like having online classes made it an easier transition for me in high school. But how did you feel like it was for you in middle school?
It was pretty much the complete opposite. I mean, it is the isolation that was caused during the panic of the pandemic definitely changed the way I interact now I understand that. Because before it happened, I was a pretty social person, but I was also pretty young. And I know that I was going through a weird growth period to where the environment will probably affect me more. And it has. I'm not as social as I was then, but that also could,
just
we'll never know if it
hormonal stuff.
Yeah, it's just we'll never know if COVID affected the way I interact with people, or I was just
you became a teenager.
Yeah.
Which is completely understandable. Actually, during World War I, during the time period of the Spanish flu, people were doing the same exact thing. They were isolating themselves and everything. It's just people were already in really close proximity because of the war, which is how quickly it spread. Now, everyone knows that with COVID, there was a huge rise in anti-Asian hate. Part of this is due to the political party that was in charge in the United States at the time. And the media is the reason why. I mean, the spread of this conspiracy theory that the Asian population in China was, the Chinese government was responsible for COVID. It was something that was genetically engineered to try and take people out. I remember hearing this rumor too, seeing it on TikTok and being like, what the hell?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Because of COVID, there was a huge rise in anti-Asian hate. And even after the fact, there is still a huge stigma against Asian people in the United States. And not just in the United States, this is also across Europe. There is anti-Asian hate towards British Asians, towards anyone basically from the Asian area that is not someone who is South Asian. Mm-hmm. Which is very unfortunate because this is just another way of hate. It's not something that should be taken lightly. This is something that really needs to be focused on. And yeah, it's been 5 years since the first case of COVID has even been in the United States. But this is still something that affects a lot of people today. And where cases of anti-Asian hate have in fact gone down, doesn't mean that there isn't still anti-Asian hate happening in the world. So what I have found from all of this research is that whenever it comes to some sort of global epidemic, there is always someone looking to blame another group of people. It always has to be someone else's fault rather than the virus's fault itself, which being around death can make you feel that way. It can make you try and find another outlook on maybe this is someone else. Maybe there's another higher being causing this. But that isn't always the case. I mean, the only way that you can prevent something like a disease from happening is being as clean as you possibly can be. Mm-hmm. But with a lot of people, that isn't the case. I mean, you got COVID. Everyone in our house got COVID except me. Yeah. Which is actually insane. I mean, I live with you and our parents, and you all had COVID at the same exact time, and I never got it. Which can also go to show that maybe it has nothing to do with how hygienic you are, but maybe how strong our immune system is as well. I mean, I gave everyone bronchitis.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I'm sorry. But, there's just so much hate in the world that is being caused by propaganda and just discrimination against a specific race or group of people because of where they are from or what they believe in. And a lot of that can actually be as a result from epidemics like this. Why there is a need to continue to blame people, I don't know. But this is something that has been happening since the dawn of time. I mean, we're still treating people the same way we did during the Black Plague. How embarrassing is that? That there has been no growth in humanity when it comes to these kind of epidemics. And there's still a need for blame against people.
Mm-hmm. It's actually pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty basic, too.
Mm-hmm. I guess this can honestly be seen as, like, the dark side of humanity. And if this is what humanity is, then what can make us better? And how can we grow from it?
Mm-hmm. Well, also, this is not on any diseases at all, but I just thought about this. It's not just diseases that cause massive amounts of racism towards a specific ethnic group. It's also about
the people in power?
Not people in power, but it's just like, you know, any major event. So, like, 9/11.
That is true, 9/11.
Increased lots of Muslim hate within America because, you know, it just was a terrible thing and people needed someone to blame other than the government because the government could not have failed them.
Mm-hmm.
So they blamed the Muslims.
People are always looking for someone to blame whenever it comes to, like, huge global atrocities.
And it's not even, like, you know, big things. I mean, there's small things that people will do, too. Like, say you lose your job, you're not going to blame, you know, yourself. You're not going to do that. You're going to blame, you know, your coworker named Steve who didn't do the dishes or something.
Mm-hmm.
You're always looking for someone else to point the finger at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, you know, it's just a reaction. It's been so ingrained in us that we are these perfect beings. And, you know, you could say media, religion could also apply to this. You know, we are God's perfect creation or whatever. I don't know. I'm not religious. Don't take anything I say about religion to the heart. Just, you know, there's a lot within the culture of humanity that has caused us to not look inwards.
Exactly.
And, you know, recognize our faults. And that's a major problem.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I hope this is something that causes you to really think about and how you react towards people and humanity as well. I mean, so...
Or any challenge in your life.
Or any challenge in your life, exactly. So, this is my podcast. So, thank you. I know I went over the time limit, but thank you.
I sure hope nothing like this comes to bite me when I go to college.